So, what does everybody know about this shit then, huh? So, 4th of June last year, I got all fucked up. My dad died. But at least I was kind of expecting that shit, you know. He'd been diagnosed with cancer 5 months previous. I'd been caring for him, and then he'd taken a real bad turn towards the end. Was basically brain dead for 4 days before he finally passed away. Shit one, but you know, those steps and progresses, you know, you understood what was happening, you know. Then last week, well, actually, technically, the week before, Virginie told me that she was very unhappy, had been for a long, long time, and she wanted time to herself. Which, you know, it's a joke that I remember. I think it was either Dylan Moran or Ed Byrne, or perhaps both, doing, you know, and it was, women come to you, you know, your woman comes to you and she says that she needs space, but what she doesn't want space. What she wants is the 6 foot of space that you occupy. That's what she wants, you know. So basically, you know, the whole I want space, I want time isn't particularly that they want space and time. They just want your space and time. You know, they want where you are, that shape that you fill in front of them, gone, just like gone. So yeah, that was Thursday. So that was last Thursday, a week ago. We're talking about 10 days ago, 11 days ago. So that was shit. So I kind of went radio silent for a few days. Because, well, I'll let you in on a secret. It's not really much of a secret, but I had been planning. I tweeted it out a couple of weeks back about I had been sort of half planning a vacation, a holiday to Vegas. Now, to be honest, that was my sort of second choice destination. I had priced and planned and very nearly bought a holiday to or a vacation in Norway, up in the north of Norway, where you would be able to watch the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, from a fucking hot tub outside on the balcony of your room. And I was planning on proposing. I had picked a ring, hadn't bought it, but I had it picked. I knew what I was going to get, I knew what it was going to cost. So I was just kind of working on you know, cutting back on buying shit so that the ring was easier to afford. And that shit, just like that, gone. I knew Virginie was unhappy, but she always told me it was, since we left university, I mean, we were together for 2 years roughly while we were at university, and then we left university roughly 2.5 years ago. Actually, no, it's 3 years ago, sort of, now that we left university, we both moved back home again. And since then, more or less the whole time, you know, good times and bad times, mostly good times as far as I was concerned, you know. But in the last year or whatever, we both, since we moved home, because, you know, you're back home, you're getting your mother's good cooking and shit, you know, so you tend to put on a bit of weight. And, well, you know, you guys have seen my trials of trying to lose that weight again. I had put on 3.5 stone since I moved home, which is the equivalent in the good old pounds. It's the equivalent of about 45 pounds or more since I moved home. And I'm trying to lose that again. I want to get right back down. I want to lose the guts of 35, 40, 50 pounds, something like that. And have the right kind of poundage, you know? Giggity. I want to be pounded right. And Virginie had put on weight as well. I mean, I still thought she was fucking stunning. So fucking sexy. So sexy. And she told me that when she was unhappy, you know, and I would say to her, are you okay? Are you happy? You know, she would say, not really. And I would say, why? And she would say, well, I don't feel like myself anymore. You know, you know, putting on weight didn't feel sexy anymore, even though I thought she was fucking gorgeous. Just fucking gorgeous. And so that's, you know, I thought the unhappiness was stemming from that, but it wasn't. She apparently had stopped loving me maybe 2 years ago. Which is quite shit to think back on now, you know. I was blinded by my own feelings for her, that I didn't see really what was wrong, and that I didn't catch it in time, you know. So now we are I don't want to go like, Ross. We were on a break. Because, well, but unfortunately, Virginia has actually only managed to get about 4 days of her time and space to herself because we've had a little bit of a rough week, which most of you probably know about as well. Um, yeah. So Tuesday, I started with the personal trainer. Started up at the gym. Put me through my paces. Basically, it was like not an induction week, but it was a sort of a basal week. So he wanted to see where I was at. I impressed him, so he said. I mean, that's really the kind of conversation a personal trainer should have with you. You did well today. You did better than I thought you would do. It gives you that sense of, fuck yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Um, he said with my size and my weight, he didn't expect me to be able to do what I was able to do. So I was able to do it, especially plank work. I think that impressed him. Plank work and core work, because I have a very strong core. I just have a layer of shit sitting on top of it. But I got home from the gym about 12, about midday. Got home, wrecked, legs like jelly, just fucking virtually sick. But managed to hold it down. Fucking, I held that shit down. I was good. And, I was talking to mum. We were watching a little bit of TV, had a cup of tea, and then she got a call from her sister saying that they were going into town. Did you want to go with them? And they've been doing an awful lot of it since Dad died last year. Mum's sisters have been taking her out quite a bit. Gets her out of the house, gets her mind off things. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing that they were doing for her. But they were gone about an hour and a half when they arrived back home. And I was up here. I was lying down here. I was watching some TV. Got the big screen here. You see, so I watched TV up here instead of downstairs. I got the big 52-inch here in the bedroom. And that's just my dick. I wish. And called me down. So I lifted the dog so that she wouldn't go nuts. Lifted her. Went down. Mummy was sitting down. My aunt was standing up over the top of her, and I said, "What's wrong?" And Mum said to me, "Will you take me to the doctor?" And I looked at her and I said, "Why?" Knew why, but I wanted her to say it. And she said, "I just took a pain in my chest, bad pain in my chest." And I said, "Well, then we're not going to the doctor. Because we go to the doctors, you're going to have to wait 5 minutes minimum to see the doctor. Then he's going to take one look at you and say, ring an ambulance. So the ambulance is going to take 15 or 20 minutes to get there. I can get you to the hospital inside 18 minutes, providing you don't look at the speed dial, the speedometer." She said, "Right, well, no." She said, "No, I'd rather just go to the doctor." And said, "No, we go straight to the hospital, because all he's going to do if you have chest pains is send you straight to the hospital. Doesn't matter if your chest pains comes from fucking gas or indigestion or whatever, he's going to send you to the hospital to make sure." So she not eventually, but she said, "Right, okay then." So I ran up, came back up here, threw my trainers on, sneakers for you guys in the States, Nikes, got her outside, and just as we walked out, I mean, it sounds fucking staged, it sounds like I'm bullshitting, but it almost sounds fucking, prophetical almost, But as we walked out the door, and as I locked the door behind me, there was an almighty fucking crash of thunder. And my mum is terrified of thunder. And there was this almighty crash of thunder. And she just looked around, fucking terrified. And I said, don't you fucking listen to that. We've got other things to consider at the minute, And years ago, when I was a child, Mummy told me not to be afraid of thunder, because all it was God moving beds, making room for somebody else to come to heaven. It's an interesting thing to tell a child, but then children don't fear death because they don't know to fear death. They don't understand death in that sense of being something to be afraid of. So it's just something that's, oh, fair enough, fuck yeah. Well, why wouldn't the big lad, why wouldn't he fucking, move some beds around if he needs more room? Yeah, it's fucking logical, So anyway, we get in the car, get to the hospital, 110 miles an hour most of the way on the motorway. And get her into the hospital, and they take her straight in, go to the A&E, accident emergency, or the ER, the emergency room for you guys in the States, and then you go through triage, which is you get a nurse basically asks you what's wrong, so that they can determine whether or not you need to be seen immediately, or whether you can be bumped down the list and let other people be seen that need the help more urgently. But they took mum straight away into the triage, and then she was out of triage again in a couple of minutes. Less than a couple of minutes actually. She was brought straight down the back, and I wasn't allowed to see her. And I didn't see anybody for like maybe 20 minutes. And when I did see somebody again, it was the triage nurse coming back and said, your mum is in resuscitation. Not a fucking pleasant thing to hear. She said, doctors are working with her. Again, not a pleasant thing to hear. And I said, well, can I see her? And they said, no, you're going to have to wait for a doctor to come out and speak to you. So she brought me around to where I could wait for that. And it was about another 20 minutes before the doctor came out. Doctor came out and said, your mum has had a massive heart attack. She is very, very acutely ill. And the next couple of hours is vitally important, crucial. And at this stage, it's a 50-50 toss-up as to which way it's going to go. Now, I would take the odds 50-50 for me. Because I'm 29, I'm big, I carry weight, yes. But if somebody puts me in a 50-50 situation, I'm fucking ignorant enough that 50-50 to me is virtually a 95%. You know, I'm happy with 50-50. When I played football, when I played any sports, there was no such thing as a 50-50 ball. There was no such thing as it was, you know, an even matchup between me and somebody else. Because that shit was mine. I don't give a fuck if the dude was bigger than me, faster than me. It was my ball. I was having it. Nobody else was fucking getting that. To the point where that's how I injured my knee. Is I went into a 30-70 challenge thinking that it was, you know, 90-10 to me, and it wasn't. But I got the ball. I just ruined my career because I destroyed my knee. But anyway, I got into resuscitation then to speak to mom, and she was high as a kite. She was doped up on morphine, but they were attaching defibrillator pads to her. So they were hooking her up to a portable defibrillator, you know, because apparently, well, you know, she was that ill that the length of time it would take them to turn her around and lift the paddles from somewhere else, you know, from the cart beside the bed over to her, too late. So they were on her, you know, they were stuck to her, so it was just a case of automatically just going bang, you know, if needs be. But Mummy didn't seem to understand any of this, partly because the pain had subsided because she had a lot of morphine in her. She had a high dose of morphine in her. Then they moved her to a ward, which was a very promising kind of thing, because you imagine, you know, if you're crucially and vitally and incredibly ill, they would keep you in the important areas, you know, the emergency areas, but they moved her up to a ward. And then, you know, they came and they said, after, she was up on the ward for 2 hours. And at this stage we're getting on to 7 o'clock. We've been in the hospital since 4 o'clock. And they said, no, unfortunately, we've been in touch with the hospital in Belfast, which is the Royal Victoria Hospital, and they have we faxed them your ECGs, and they want to see you immediately. We're going to put a stent in, but we were going to leave it to the morning, but we're going to get it done now instead. Just, you know, might as well. They were calling in consultants to come in and do this. And so she was put in an ambulance, blue lights, fucking siren, the whole lot. They said to me, look, unfortunately you can't come with us in the ambulance because we're going to do the prep work for the procedure, for the stent. So she'll be going straight from the ambulance to the theatre table, into recovery, back in an ambulance and back to Craigavon Hospital, which was the one that we were currently in. Whole process will take about 2.5 hours. There's no point in you coming because you won't be able to see her at any time. So I said, well, no, I'll go anyway. And then they said, no, there's genuinely no reason, because you won't get to see your mother. Eventually I thought, right, well, if that's the case and she's going to be in hospital for a couple of days, I will go home. So I came back here. I packed a bag with pajamas for her, towels, her phone and her phone charger, and then I went back to the hospital. Brigitte came with me because Brigitte worked in the hospital that Mum was in. So Brigitte came down after work. I texted her and told her what had happened, and I basically said, look, I'm kind of freaking the fuck out. I could do with somebody. So Brigitte came down with me, and then she came home with me, and then she came back to the hospital with me. When we went back to the hospital, we were going to have a cup of coffee and wait, because we had probably an hour and 20 minutes before I kind of expected Mum back. And then I thought, fuck it, I'll go up and I'll ask. I'll go up and see how things are. So we went back up onto the ward that she'd been on, and I found a doctor, and I just said, is there any word on Rosaleen Hannah? You know, she was sent down for a stent, and any word on how the procedure went, what time to expect her back at. And they said, well, if you take a seat in the waiting area, we'll ring up and we'll find out for you. So we were in the waiting room maybe 2 minutes when the doctor came in, and then a registrar came in behind her and closed the door. And when you're in a hospital and somebody walks in and closes the door, just get up and walk out, because you're getting bad news. And I got bad news. I was told that there had been a complication. My mum had taken a turn for the worst as she arrived at the hospital, and that they were very keen to have me down there as soon as was possible. So I jumped in the car, and I mentioned earlier that I was doing 110. Well, this time on the motorway, the highway to from Craigavon to Belfast, I was doing 125 up towards 130, which is impressive. I was impressed with the car. Didn't even wobble, like, it handled it. You knew you were traveling fast, but it was smooth for 130 miles an hour. For a private vehicle, I was impressed with that. Got to the hospital and I started to run, and Virginie started to try and run along with me, and I said no, take it easy, just walk up, because I had notions that she would fucking trip, or that I would trip her, or she would trip me, and there'd be a broken ankle or a broken fucking arm or something to go along with all of the rest of it. So I ran on, and I got to the cath lab, which is the cardiac catheterization lab, and the doctor who had been dealing with Mum in Craigavon was there. He had went in the ambulance with her to do the prep work, and he came out and he said to me, we'll just take a seat in this, and it turned out it was a seminar room, but it was locked. And again, at this stage I was like, I don't want to hear what you're going to say, mate. I don't want to hear what you're going to say, because I'm likely to break your jaw. And then he walked off to try and find a key, and then he called me down towards the end of the hallway again, because there was another doctor and we could use her office, and she was actually the one who had been brought in to do the procedure. And she said to me, your mother arrived here, but as she arrived she took another massive heart attack, not as big as the first one, but big enough. The cause of the two heart attacks was a clot in the artery. Now that's what the stent was going to be. The stent would go in and widen out the artery, and then just have a wee bit of suction, clot's gone, bang, and you're 100% fucking healthier again. Just right, bang, as soon as that clot's out, you're good to go. You're better. It takes all the pressure off that whole system, just super job. But the second heart attack, so the first one was because the clot had got itself wedged in the artery. So imagine that was the artery, right? The clot then got itself stuck, kind of just stuck there, couldn't get past, and that caused a heart attack. Second heart attack dislodged the clot, which is dangerous, because clots do one of two things. They go to your brain and cause strokes, or they go to your heart and cause it to explode. And Mum's went to her heart and didn't make it through the valve, the first valve, which it basically blocked up the valve, which caused a build-up of pressure. So basically imagine a balloon, and you fill it with water, and you keep filling it with water, and you keep filling it with water, and then you start to squeeze it as well whilst you're filling it with water. What's it going to do? So Mum's heart exploded, and she died instantly. Probably a second or so after it happened, she passed away. She died. So this is what the doctor was telling me. Which, like I said, probably if it was the male doctor, I would have broken his jaw. Just fucking something to do, Something to do. But you can't hit a lady doctor. Not when she had tried her best. Well, who knows? There was nothing could have been done about it. Couldn't have been predicted. They didn't find out that it was actually a clot until much too late. Apparently, the only way that she could have been saved, and even then it was a very small chance, would have been if she was in the second hospital, the Royal Victoria in Belfast, 20 minutes after she first took the pain. Now, I thought I had done pretty well. I got her to the hospital inside 29 minutes. So she had, from first pain to she was in the hospital, was less than 30 minutes. from she had the first pain until she was dead was 4 hours, which isn't a long period of time. You know, they tell you that you gotta act quick. I acted quick, I drove quick, and it still didn't matter. And you know why? Because she didn't want to be here anymore. She didn't. And I can't blame her. I mean, if you love someone, to have that taken away, it wrenches, do you know what I mean? It's like, she was with Dad for 35 years. That in itself is not a very long time for a relationship, but you gotta bear in mind, they didn't meet until they were in their mid-30s. You know? And that wrenches at you to lose that connection. And she was heartbroken. And it was alright, you know? Sucks for me. Sucks for her brothers and sisters. She came from a family of 12, including her, and then 2 parents, so 14 all told. My uncle was shot as part of the Troubles in Northern Ireland 20 years ago this year. So Mummy's the second one of them to go. There's 10 of them still left. One of them was my godfather. But she was heartbroken. She couldn't really survive without Dad. So he took her home. And that's pretty much how my week has been. So I am going to continue to try and make videos because I need the distraction. But they're probably not going to be the sort of videos I have made, because I am sick of pretense. I am sick of a lot of things. You know, they talk about it's hard to lose someone. Well, I've lost everyone in the last year. 415 days from Dad died to Mum died. It's not a long time. 13 months and 20 days. And I'm strong. I mean, I can handle it, you know, and I am handling it. I'm handling it probably better than anybody else. But it doesn't mean that I have to put up with everybody again, you know? I'm done being the guy who just looks after everyone. Because since Dad died, I've done that all the time anyway, kind of thing. I've always put others ahead of me. And what's the point? Where's it got me? It's got me an orphan at 29. Not particularly young to be an orphan, but at the same time, an awful lot fucking younger than what most people are. Because you know, like I said, there was 12 in my mum's family. There's only me and one other set of cousins, of which there are 3 who are orphans. And their father was the one who was shot 20 years ago, and their mum died 18 months ago. So they had 18 and a half years of having at least one parent. I had 1 year of having at least one parent. And all of them are married. One of them's divorced and has been through about 15 women since his divorce as well, because the guy gets a sniff of pussy and he is gone. He can't keep his dick in his pants and his brain is in his dick. And I know you're going to say I like all men, but not necessarily like all men. But, you know, I have nothing to anchor me here anymore. I have no reason to stay here. I own this house, but I'm genuinely going to give myself maybe 6 weeks and see whether or not I can stand it here. And if I can't, I will rent the house out and I will fucking disappear off the face of the earth. Maybe go and live on a beach in fucking, I don't know, the Bahamas or some shit. Burn that deep golden brown kind of colour, you know? some fucked up shit, you know. It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm not religious at all. I ain't got fucking God in me. God has sat out most of my life in the last 2 years. And I'm alright with that. I don't, you know, if this is what God does, I can do without him, you know? Takes everything away from you when you need it. I mean, my dad was my guidelines on how to be strong, how to be a man. And my mum was my guidelines on how to love. And Virgin was my inspiration for both. For being strong and for loving. And I've lost them all now. I ain't got a good goddamn fucking reason why I should stay here. Other than seeing how it goes, you know. So any of you guys, any of you guys, it could be Rock, it could be Barn, because I know where you live. It could be Cracker in Carolina. It could be fucking Mouth in Utah. God damn it could even be Brett Links in fucking LA. Some of you guys could get a fucking knock at your door anytime. And you're gonna see a big, ugly, ginger motherfucker starting there. Cause hey, what else is there, you know? There's not much else that can go wrong for me at the minute, to be honest. And yeah, you can see me with 2 rings. One is my own ring, Claddagh ring. Virgin bought me that. It's an Irish ring, symbolizes love. And the heart, if the heart points towards up your arm basically, as this one does, it means your heart belongs to someone. If you have it like that, it means that your heart is available to be won. But even though we're not together really, I still love her, you know. And I hope that she decides someday, soon, it would need to be soon, someday that she can be happy with me, or that she at least wants to give it a try. But then this ring is Mum's. I literally had it removed from her finger just before she was buried, before we went for the funeral, so that I could keep it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go. I wanted to give you a video. This has been a very long vlog. I hope you stuck through it to the end. And I'm not gonna wish you peace, love and puppies. Because like I said, I'm sick of being that guy that's always happy for everyone else. Instead, I'm gonna say I don't give a good fucking goddamn or a flam fuck what happens.